Spooky season is upon us once again, and that only means one thing around here, and that is Halloween episodes. There are tons of these things going all the way back to the 80s. Last year I covered an Are You Afraid of the Dark Halloween episode. This year I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to be doing a top 5. Not top 5, just 5. This isn't a best of. This is a cataloging for future generations across the board, and we'll be judging how Halloweeny they are. I mean, you know, there's tons of Halloween episodes of shows of all different qualities, so I'm just gonna pick 5 and roll with it, and we'll see where it goes from there. All that being said, though, there's some bangers in this one. 2 of the shows on this list fall into the one of my favorite shows of all time category, and another one is a pretty close runner-up, so there's a lot of good shit in this one. And I guess without further ado, I'll just get into it. The first one we're talking about tonight is Tales from the Crypt. This is one that falls in my favorite shows of all time categories for sure. I love Tales from the Crypt. There were years where I would stay up late and watch this show when I was way too young to be doing so. I love anthologies in general, movies and TV shows, and this is one of the best. Of course, it's got the Crypt Keeper. We all know him and love him, and it fits right in with Halloween. They only have the one though, and it took them 6 seasons. It is called
Only Skin Deep.
It's basically about a dude who forces his way into a Halloween party uninvited to terrorize his ex-girlfriend who has like outed him as an abuser or whatever. And right off the bat, we establish that he's a huge douchebag. This is part of the Tales from the Crypt formula. Just about every episode, the main character is a huge piece of shit, and the episode is basically about them getting what they deserve. It's a good tactic. It draws you in pretty easily, just makes you hate the main character, and then you can just like cheer along with the episode. And this one is no different. This guy sucks.
You know, silly me, thinking I gave you what you deserved. If I'd done that, I'd have killed you.
He's hassling his ex, starting shit with the guy who is putting the party on. He sneaks off to the kitchen to vent and runs into this chick who is dressed like a fucked up China doll. They start flirting. They go back to her place and agree not to share names or take their masks off in case it needed to be said. I don't think it does, but in case it needed to be said, this one is not for the kiddos. This is late night cable in the 90s. So yeah, they like bang or whatever, fall asleep together. He wakes up and immediately like reneges on their agreement and is trying to force her to like share her details with them so they can get to know each other. She's not having it. And as the night goes on, he starts uncovering her dark secret. Yeah, I mean, this is a good episode. Most Tales from the Crypt episodes are. It's just a really good show. I mean, with every anthology, you get a stinker, but most of them are above par. This is not the best. It's not my favorite episode by any means. It's got its problems. I mean, there are moments where the dialogue is really funny.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm making a stand.
Against what?
There are also moments where the dialogue is cringy, at least in my opinion, mainly with the chick. She says a lot of stuff in that, like, I'm trying to be cool kind of way, if you know what I mean.
Not just the hair of the dog, but the whole goddamn dog that bit us.
And also they assert this kind of like supernatural element where like the dude sees a ghost in her apartment, and at one point while they're getting it on or whatever, her eyes like black out like she's a demon, and that never goes anywhere really. But other than that, it's dark and gloomy and bleak like a Tales from the Crypt episode should be, with that kind of like dark humor. All in all, it's a good episode. I'll give it 3 stars. It's pretty good. As far as how Halloweeny it is, I don't know, man. It's not that Halloweeny. The very beginning is. I mean, it opens on a jack-o'-lantern. That's always a good sign. Most Halloween episodes show you a jack-o'-lantern within the first like minute of the episode. And the initial party stuff is a little Halloweeny. And then there is that whole like overarching concept of like the masks and stuff. But other than that, it's not that Halloweeny. They don't talk about Halloween too often. The plot doesn't revolve around Halloween. Halloween is just like the launching pad for the story, which is fine, but it does take away from it a little bit. I think honestly on the pumpkin scale, I would give it 1 pumpkin, but like a really shitty, rotten pumpkin. It's just not that Halloweeny. I feel like there are other episodes that would actually be better to watch around the season, maybe. Like the Scarecrow episode with Patricia Arquette. That's a good one. But yeah, still all in all, a good time. If you're a Tales from the Crypt fan, you've probably already seen it. And if not, I don't think you'll be disappointed giving it a shot. All right, next is Dinosaurs. This one is from season 3. It's called Little Boy Boo. It is the only Halloween episode of Dinosaurs, which hopefully you've heard of, but if you haven't, it's basically a formulaic sitcom template from the early 90s that is built around animatronic dinosaurs. It's pretty cool. Again, it's very formulaic, kind of on purpose though, as like a little bit of the joke. It's almost just Family Matters, but with dinosaurs, kinda. But just the fascination of it and the really good animatronics makes this one all worth it. I will say, coming back to this, because it's been a while, I was surprised at how good the animatronics are. The faces are super emotive.
I have been waiting in that car with your mother for 10 minutes. Just your mother and me in the car. 10 minutes.
But yeah, this one is about the family needing to go to a school play for the daughter. And so the son is tasked with watching the baby. And of course, the baby is being a pain in the ass. So he tries to shut it up with a scary story. And that's kind of the setup here. We kind of go along with this spooky story that he's telling the baby. This is a classic like Wolfman type of story, except in this show, humans are kind of treated as the animals of the universe. And so this one is about a were-man. Or, I mean, as he's telling it to the baby, it's about him and the time he got bit by a were-man and turned into one or whatever. It's always been funny in this show how they portray humans as kind of like the unevolved wild animals. And I like how they build like urban legends in this universe around humans as the monsters. That's good stuff. Also, the play on the Wolfman story, but set in this time and universe. He actually needs a silver club instead of a silver bullet because they don't have guns. That's pretty good.
Unfortunately, the stores were all out, so I had to make do with a spoon.
Again, I will say, like, as far as a show goes, this isn't the best sitcom. If you're just watching it as a sitcom, most of the entertainment comes from what it is with the animatronics and everything and the dinosaur universe. It's cool. It's got great set design. Again, great animatronics. Some of the gags in the show can fall flat. Sometimes they hit. Very hit or miss. One thing I noticed about one of the sets is this Teenage Mutant Ninja Caveman's poster. That's pretty sick. I guess as a rating though, I would give it like 2 stars. It's okay. It's nothing to write home about. And in terms of Halloweeniness, I mean, this kind of has a similar problem to the Tales from the Crypt episode, where it's just not very Halloweeny. They sneak a costume in at the beginning, kind of. Guess you could count that as Halloween. And then at the end, the story kind of culminates with them accidentally inventing Halloween, and they go out on the first trick-or-treating expedition. And I mean, the whole episode is like a spooky werewolf story. But again, when it comes to comparison to some Halloween episodes, I mean, honestly, this one has even less than the Tales from the Crypt episode. So, I mean, if you just took like a little piece of that rotten pumpkin on the pumpkin scale, this episode just gets that little piece of rotten pumpkin, I think. But hey, I still recommend it. Especially if you've never seen the show or it's been a while. Go back and watch it, man. Those animatronics are on point. It's pretty dope. All right, next is the second of my favorite TV shows of all time category. It is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This one is in season 2. They kept it simple. They just called it Halloween. This one sees the gang getting tasked with hanging out with trick-or-treaters, taking them door to door for the neighborhood. It's like a school volunteer thing that the principal kind of forces them into.
Gosh, I'd love to sign up, but I recently developed carpal tunnel syndrome and can tragically no longer hold a flashlight.
The children have to be back at 6.
They go to a local Halloween shop that just popped up called Ethan's to get their costumes. But little do they know, Ethan is an evil warlock who has hexed the costumes. And when he does his spell or whatever, it turns everybody into their costume. Like if you dressed up like a demon, you turn into a demon.
Maybe
In this case, Buffy dressed like a princess, Xander like a soldier, Willow like a ghost, and like, you know, they lose their memory and just become like these characters, except for Willow. She just becomes a ghost of herself, I guess. She's kind of the one that's pulling everybody together a little bit and trying to explain to everybody what's going on.
Xander was a soldier and Buffy was an 18th century girl.
And your costume?
I'm a ghost.
Yes.
This episode is semi-plotty. That can be a bad thing in Halloween episodes. If you're just popping it in to get the Halloween feels and you're hit with all this plot, sometimes it can fuck you up. I don't know, be a little weird, make you feel like you should just be watching the whole show. This one's not that bad though. This one just has a lot of setup with some characters like Oz, who's played by Seth Green.
Who's that girl?
And Ethan, the warlock, who shows up later and kind of introduces the concept of Giles having a fucked up past. But it isn't anything that holds this episode back. It just is kind of there. This series has 3 Halloween episodes, and this is the second best, in my opinion. That being said, though, it's great. This is a great episode. The show is good. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. This episode has it all. It's got great dialogue.
Hey, Cordelia. Geez, you're like a great big cat.
That's my costume.
It's got Spike running around, like early introduction to Spike. He's running around with like a cavalcade of random demon trick-or-treater kids trying to wreak havoc. It's good shit. As a rating, just for the show, 4 stars easy. This is about as good as it gets, show quality wise, for a Halloween episode. And in terms of how Halloweeny it is drenched in Halloweeniness. Early on in the school and in the street like scenes, there is Halloween decorations everywhere. Everybody is in costume for a bulk of the show. The plot is driven by Halloween. On the pumpkin scale, this one gets 82 pumpkins. So pretty damn good. Next, we've got one, I'm just gonna kind of get it out of the way. Everybody knows this show. Everybody's probably seen this episode. It's got to show up on the list sometime, and that time is right now. We're talking about Friends. The only Halloween episode they had. It took them 8 seasons to do it, but they finally did it. It is called The One with the Halloween Party. This is the simplest one to explain in the whole video of all of these. Friends is a very simple show. The episode to episode naming convention was very apt, usually because it's usually one line that explains the whole thing. This one is the one with the Halloween party. There is some story stuff going on, mainly with Phoebe, who like meets her twin sister's fiance and kind of gets a thing for him and finds out that her twin is lying to him because she sucks. You've also got Rachel, who is pregnant, and she's appointing herself the in charge of the trick-or-treaters because of her maternal instincts kicking in or something. We've got Chandler being dressed as a bunny and hating it.
It was either a pink bunny or no bunny at all.
No bunny at all. Always no bunny at all.
We've got Ross dressed like Spudnik, which is a play on the satellite Sputnik, but he's a potato. Nobody gets it. They keep calling him a turd. It's pretty hilarious.
Hey, all right. Ross came his duty.
And it all kind of ends in a situation where Ross and Chandler are arm wrestling to see who's the strongest. All in all, honestly, this is a good episode. Friends is a good show. It's not really my thing. I tend not to gravitate towards that like trendy upper class New York socialite kind of setting that this show takes place in. But I honestly, every time I watch an episode, I'm reminded of how just good the show is. There's a lot of talent there. Matthew Perry, of course, rest in peace. Chandler, Phoebe, and Joey are definitely the strongest parts of this show. I guess I'll give it a 3 stars. It's pretty good. It's not as strong of a 3 stars as that Tales from the Crypt episode, but still undeniably just a really good show. As far as the Halloween scale, I mean, I gotta give it props. It's off the charts. It technically has a pumpkin in the opening. It's very small over there, but you can see it right after the opening scene. The whole thing is just drenched in Halloween. They're at a Halloween party. Their apartment is covered in like classic spooky Halloween decorations, bones and die-cut pumpkins and bats and stuff. Tables decked out with candy bowls and shit. Everybody in the background is just like dancing in costumes. The whole cast is wearing costumes. It's very Halloween-y. One of the most Halloween-y episodes of these 5. I'll give it 99 pumpkins. Pretty damn good. Definitely will hit the spot and set the mood. And the last one. This one is a classic must-watch in my opinion. I saved it for last because of that. It is a classic show from my childhood that I love dearly. And that is Beavis and Butthead. Bungholio, Lord of the Harvest, also known as Butt-O-Ween on home video. I think when it came out on like VHS tape. Again, this is a must watch. Beavis and Butthead is a great show. This is one of my favorite episodes of the show across the board. It opens with Beavis and Butthead watching a sleazy slasher movie.
You act like you don't even want to get it on.
They get the notion to go trick-or-treating, even though they're a little too old. They keep running into obstacles. They eventually have to come home and try to put on makeshift costumes. Beavis dresses up like a Nad, as you can see from the underwear placed on his head. And Butthead goes as Nachos by just dumping hot liquid cheese over his head. They go out, they're getting turned down, they're getting handed pamphlets and healthy treats, having no luck. Eventually they make their way to Tom Anderson's house. Beavis gets into the candy and he turns into Cornholio. Oh man, I love Beavis and Butthead so much. But yeah, he's just wigging out. He eats the whole bowl of candy. Butthead loses control. He's out there terrorizing people, traumatizing poor Stuart. He even is so fucking wigged out that he scares Todd a little bit.
This is messed up, man.
But yeah, Todd ends up taking Butthead out in the middle of nowhere, dumping him. Beavis wanders off into a graveyard. You get this nice moody, atmospheric scene that's kind of like the classic Wolfman transformation where Beavis is fully succumbing to Cornholio.
I am Cornholio.
The whole thing culminates with them both like wandering into the same area into a like ghoul who lures them into their barn. And it ends on a great, like, non-canonical, spooky Halloween ending where Butthead has been turned into a ghoul as well. If you've got the DVD or you watch it on TV, you might not get the music videos inserted in there. But the music videos they played when it aired were really good. You had Teenage Frankenstein by Alice Cooper, Hollywood Halloween by Paul Braukeck, if I'm saying that right, and The Family Ghost by King Diamond. If you can track those down and watch it along with it, that'll enhance the experience in my opinion. The music video segments were a big part of Beavis and Butthead, and I think it's a shame that they're so hard to watch with the videos in them because it made the show in a lot of ways. But yeah, this is a 4-star banger, naturally. It's awesome. No need to dwell on that too long. It's just awesome. It's Beavis and Butthead, and they're trick-or-treating, and Cornholio comes out. That's a recipe for success in my book. And as far as the pumpkin scale goes, I mean, this episode gives you everything you want. The cool custom intro, it's just the normal intro, spooked up a little bit. That's all you need to do. The plot is driven by Halloween. You get tons of decorations, tons of costumes, most notably a couple Power Rangers in there. You got the White Ranger kid, and then at the end, one of the kids that Cornholio terrorizes is the Red Ranger. So very of its time. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and give this one 5,000 pumpkins. I think it deserves every single one. But yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're as stoked as me that the Halloween season is back. It's my favorite time of year. And hopefully, if you were looking for something to watch, I gave you some ideas. I'll try to be back with another one soon. I feel like this is very important work, and I'm going to try to do it to its fullest. But yeah, thanks for watching. Happy Halloween, and until next time.
Happy Halloween! Yeah!